For this sequence, I want you to start on your right hip, and your legs are in a bit of an S position. So the legs just kind of make an S. And you can put your left hand on your left hip. So once you settle into position, we'll let that hand begin to rock your left hip forward and then release it back. So we're just creating a little looseness in the hip here, a little bit of an opening in the hip flexor, tiny, tiny bit into the quadricep. So you're just rocking that hip forward and back a few times. And then once you've started to feel that it's loosening up just a bit, you can pull your left heel in just a little more towards your bottom. It's just whatever's comfortable for you on, so that you can stretch your quadricep. And you just reach back like you're trying to touch that heel, or you can lean back, maybe your hand behind you. Like I know, Linda, you can lean back and touch the floor. And then as you're leaning back, it's again just that little bit of a motion with your hip, but this time you don't have your hand to help you. We're just now kind of stretching in through the entire thigh. And then the next time that you roll that hip forward, now you can stay there and sweep your arm across and let your left hand come to touch your right shoulder. So it's a little bit of a swinging twist here. And then once it touches the shoulder, just release it, let that arm come forward and reach around like you're trying to touch your left heel. It doesn't matter if you ever actually touch it or not. We're just flowing in and out of this motion and to let that hand sweep up. And yes, your head is naturally going to follow the pattern of the hand, the movement of the hand. So a few more times. Remember, move nice and slow so you just feel the sensations and give your body time. This is a really, it's a fairly deep lower body twist here. And then the next time that your arm sweeps around and touches the shoulder, then you can stay. So we let the shoulder stay fairly relaxed, but the fingertips are just barely touching. And we'll add an interesting little movement here. So on your inhale, begin to let your elbow reach up towards the sky. Your gaze looks at that elbow. You let your upper back arch a bit here as you're reaching up as far as you can. And then on your exhale, contract your belly a bit as you let your elbow reach down. Your gaze still follows, and it's like you're doing a little bit of a crunch here. And then on the inhale, you open up and you arch. Look up, exhaling. There you go. Elbows towards elbows. This is great. Do that a few more times here. It really gets to loosening up some of the nooks and crannies of the spine that we don't ordinarily get to easily. Let's just take one more here. And then release that arm. You can let your legs open out just into a gentle V position in front of you. This is just a bit of a release before we go to the other side. So you can make little circles with your trunk, or you can just rock your pelvis forward and back, any way that just starts to kind of feel good before we move the legs to the other side. And then once you feel like you've let your knees have that moment of relaxation, then we come to the other side. So getting the legs in that S position, and we're sitting more on the hip. So right hand is on that right hip to begin with. Yeah, and then let the arm do the work of rolling your hip forward. So a lot of times we are, yeah, just rocking it forward and back. A lot of times we get really stuck in the hips and we don't really even know how to move them. So if we let the arm do some of the work of loosening that area up, it can be very helpful. And you'll notice one hip is usually much more easily moved and manipulated than the other hip. Eventually, though, we will create balance. All right, when you've done that enough, you can just reach that hand behind you, or you could actually let's scooch, like you can scoot your foot in more. You may or may not be able to, but just scooting it in as close as you can, and then press your hip forward while you lean back. You can maybe touch your heel, or you can put the hand on the floor behind you. Like Linda, I know your quad is a little looser, so you could reach behind. We're just stretching the quad here for now. So you're gonna reach back. Yeah. There we go. So just feel that hip flexor, which is right up here at the top of the leg, and your quad as you pulse that hip slightly forward, just in and out. We're creating little flowing motions versus a static stretch, because our intention is different than when we're holding a stretch. We are wanting to loosen up the connective tissue, lubricate the joints. We're not so much interested in just outright flexibility. So every movement flowing like the surf is just gently flowing in and out of the shore. Now, the next time that you press your hip forward, let's bring that right hand, kind of bring it around in front. Slowly sweep it all the way around until it's touching your left shoulder. There we go. And then we open and close. So maybe on the inhale, you let that arm open. Maybe you touch your heel. Maybe just reach it a ways behind you. And then exhaling, sweep it around, touch the shoulder. Let your gaze follow the hand that's moving as we slowly flow in and out of this twist. That'll be the next time that you come into that twist. Hand to the shoulder, just pause there. And then we begin to tweak it a bit by letting that elbow begin to rise up, the gaze following the elbow. You let your back arch, just twist open a bit, looking up at the sky, and then engage the core. Let your low back kind of round a bit as you let that right elbow reach for the left elbow. It won't touch. We're just going that direction. And just open up on the inhale like you're blossoming. And then closing back up on the exhale. Back and forth a few times. The first time you do this, it may feel very awkward and very stiff. Actually, the 10th time you do this, it may feel that way. But eventually, then you'll start to loosen up all of those tight little muscles that have just become over tightened all along your joints. Muscles will be looser, the joints will be more lubricated, that connective tissue will become a little more elastic rather than concrete-ish. Maybe do this one more time. And then as you release out of this next one, go ahead and shift around so that your legs are just out in front of you. And we'll let them be out in front straight. And so we'll let our knees and our legs release. We'll just let the legs go inner and outer rotation. So as, the legs as a whole like rolling pins. They just roll in and out. Yeah, and then once you've done that for just a few breaths, you can let your legs be still. You can crisscross however you want. I want you to just take a moment to relax and to notice how your body feels.